Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2024 BMW 840i xDrive Coupe. Huge shout out to Hendrick BMW Northlake for providing this for me today. Take a look at their website. That link is down in the description. So this 840i is finished off in a very exclusive Aurora Diamond Green Metallic. It's actually a color changing color for this at $5,500. It's very beautiful. It looks a little bit blue, a little bit green, depending on the light, putting the MSRP for this 840 just under $104,000. Now this is also powered by a 3-liter twin power turbo inline 6 paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. It pumps out 335 horsepower, 368 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the xDrive all-wheel drive system, propelling this 4,200-pound coupe from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It has a top speed of 155 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 18 gallons. You'll expect to see around 21 miles per gallon in the city, 29 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 119 inches. Its overall length is 200.2. It has a width of 76.1 and a height of 55.2 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling for this 840i, keep in mind the color for this. As we walk around the entire exterior, you will notice that it changes colors. But let's start up front, where this does have the M Sport Pro package, so it provides it with all the black accents. You will notice that the kidney grille is finished off in matte black. There's the vertical slats that run throughout it and no obstruction. So there's no grille shutters behind it, giving this a lot of cooling. There's a forward-facing camera, all of the parking sensors. This even has the adaptive laser light LED headlights, along with the DRLs and turn signals. And then the entire lower section has plenty of cutouts. There's basically no obstructions in the lower section either, giving it a really cool design with all of those horizontal bars finished off in gloss black. And then there's a few lines coming down the hood just to tie it in nicely. Now, as we work our way to the side, this has a set of 20-inch wheels with a multi-spoke and two-tone design. Calipers are finished off in black. There's also a trim accent just behind that. For the side mirrors, they have the base finished off in gloss black, body colored for the cap itself, and then the turn signal and a camera. And then the entire roof is body colored as well. No sunroof or anything for this model. All the window trim is blacked out, which matches nicely. And there's some nice lines that run down the side, including the lower side skirt just underneath the door handle there. And of course, it gives it that coupe-like design. Very large windows in the back as well. Now in the rear, this does have a gloss black, very small trunk mounted spoiler. There's LED taillights, backup camera with all these sensors, and then there's the dual exhaust in the lower section. Now you can remote start this. So let's triple tap on that lock button and bring this to life. You can also use that to shut it off as needed. You can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath to open up the power trunk. And this is a 4-seater with the back seats up. You still have plenty of space. There's some battery access on the left side, net on the right side. There's no storage underneath the floor, but you can fold down the back seats. They have a 50-50 split to them. You have to pull on both of those tabs, and that gives you a lot more interior space depending on the items that you need to bring with you for the day. And with the power trunk lid, just push the one on the left side, it will close. Right side is going to lock it as well. As you just heard, I can walk back up to it, place my hand on the door handle, and it will unlock. Now, paired with this color changing color, we have a beautiful interior to match. You will notice that two-tone for the door panel. There's also brushed aluminum. There's memory seating adjustments, Harman Kardon for the sound system, side mirrors, which are power folding, trunk release, a little bit of storage. And then that same design works its way to these beautiful seats. Now, these are automatic. There is one manual adjustment for that leg support, but they have a great design to them. And then you can even pull on this leather strap to move that backrest forwards, where that seat will start to work its way forwards. So we can take a look at these back seats that have the same attention to detail. Now, I wouldn't say you're really buying this to be a full 4-seater. As you can tell with that seat all the way back, there's no leg room. And at 5'10", I am crouched down. My head is touching the Alcantara headliner. So if I needed a ride around town, that's basically what it would be for. Very short distances, but you can fold these seats down for extra storage. You could put maybe a car seat in the back if you have some smaller kids and you still want a fun vehicle. you could use it for those purposes. But it is nice to have just to make it a little bit more practical when needed. And then once you put that back, the seat will go back into the position that it was set at, which is nice. And as we move on to the steering wheel, it's finished off in solid leather with the M Sport badge down below. This is a heated steering wheel. Cruise control settings are on the left side. Right side, there's volume tuning and then Bluetooth and voice commands. And this does have the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, finished off in brushed aluminum to match the rest of the accents. But let's fire this up. The engine start stop button for this model is finished off in crystal, and we can bring this back to life. And coming back to the digital gauge cluster, on the left side, there's miles per hour along with your fuel level. Right side is engine temperature and the tach. The map for this model is always going to appear front and center. And then you also have some additional info that you can scroll through on that right side. So we are going to use the top button on the turn signal stalk, where there's some data information. You can pull up live readouts for your horsepower and your torque, even pull up a G-force meter, look at music. You can also see what mode the vehicle is in. Currently it's in comfort. There's also what gear you are in, live readout for your MPG, and then we are back to that. So not a whole lot of information, but it's nice to be able to go through. And then this button right in the middle, you can push on. It'll pull up on the head-up display for your audio shortcuts. So on the head-up display, there's miles per hour and the speed limit sign, and then you can go through the different settings as needed. Now on this left side, all of the headlight adjustments, there's one air vent. The entire dash is covered in leather with some nice stitching. And then for the infotainment system, on your home screen, you will notice the split style. So there's navigation along with audio and phone. You can swipe over to view some more information. And then there's even areas where you can add different widgets as needed. On the far left, everything here is fixed. So you can quickly get into your media, phone. You can pull up the navigation and more of a full screen there. If I go into car now, there's a lot more info that we can scroll through, and I'm going to use the rotary dial down below. So it's finished off in crystal, and there's a bunch of shortcuts to further go through this. So if I go into sport displays, if you're doing some sporty driving, you can pull that up and view all of that information. You can even get into some vehicle status just to monitor that as needed. And then you have a lot of different settings that you can go into. So you can configure all of this to your liking. That's also how you can get into the remote start. There's driver profile, owner's manual, and then if we go all the way back to home, you can even get into your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and then a few other apps, just depending on what you would like to use. So very easy, and with those shortcuts down below, you can again further get through that info. Now there's also a shortcut to the intelligent safety. So you can pull this up to go through your forward collision, lane departure, steering assist, which is very helpful. And then underneath that, 2 air vents, and then another digital screen for your climate adjustments. So you can adjust the temperature, fan speed. You have some shortcuts you can go into to further adjust that, even be able to synchronize the fronts. Now this also has heated and ventilated seats. So just push on that one button and you can quickly decide what you would like to use. There's the rest of the AC adjustments and defrosters on both sides. Power and volume for the radio, as well as tuning and all of the presets. And then very nice trim accent for this cover. If I open that up, in the far back, there's wireless charging, there's auxiliaries and cup holders. And then on the left side of the shifter, there's traction control, as well as a shortcut to the 360 camera system. So currently it is looking at the backup camera. If I put the vehicle into reverse now, the top-down view will appear on that right side. And then we can also go into the 3D view to bring up that entire view. We also have the gesture control, which you can use to go around that. If I put the vehicle into drive now and push on that camera button, now we have the forward-facing camera. So very helpful to have. There's the parking sensors, engine start stop, and then looking at the shifter again, the release is on the left side, forwards is actually for reverse, pulling it backwards is for drive, and then you have the manual setting to shift with, or you can use the paddles themselves. Now behind that, we have the different driving modes. This is very identical with most BMWs. You actually have 4 for this model. There is an adaptive setting where the vehicle will figure out the driving setting for you. Auto hold and the e-brake are also behind that. We have the split style for the armrest with plenty of space, as well as a lot over on the glove box. And then up top, there's the dome lights. And then we have a few call buttons and plenty of visibility over both shoulders. Those pillars are very thin, and we have large windows in the back there, so you can easily see over both shoulders. As we set up now behind the wheel for the 840i, this is actually the first ever 840 that we have featured on the channel. We drive a lot of the 850s and the M8s, never an 840 though, so this is pretty cool to check out. We have that inline 6-cylinder that has a good bit of power to it based on the numbers that I read earlier. But let's put it into sport mode, downshift, and see how that translates to the real world. Not bad. And I like that it's not crazy loud. So if you're just looking for, maybe you want that sports car vibe, you want a little bit of power, but nothing crazy. Again, it's a good option to go with. It'll put you back in your seat a little bit. It's not slow, but it's not quite as quick, of course, as some of the bigger engines and the other models. But aside from that, driving this is exactly what you would expect from a BMW. You can't even hear any of the traffic passing. It's very quiet. Very nice place to be if you want something that's going to be a luxury daily driver and one that's also going to be practical too. With the room that we have in the back, it's mainly for extra luggage. Anything that you have, you can fold the seats down, put in some larger items. So it makes it a good practical sports car if this is your only vehicle, and something that would be a little bit better on MPG if you decide not to go for the next level up. So let's give it another acceleration from second gear. Paddles are also very responsive. So I do like that. That's what I love about BMWs is you don't have to get the most performance-oriented model to get some of the performance features. And in sport mode, second gear, here we go. Mild acceleration, we're up to speed, and then taking this turn, it is so planted, and then shifts are quick, and we're back up to speed. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention earlier is that this model actually has all-wheel steering. So at slower speeds, the rear wheels will turn in the opposite direction, and that makes it much easier for parking lot situations and things like that. So it's very nice to see for this. I'm not sure if at higher speeds they turn in the same direction or not. That would allow you to maneuver just a little bit better at those higher speeds. But at a slower speed like this, even just turning, you feel the back end kind of kick out a little bit. It's very hard to notice unless you actually know it, but very nice to see that even with this all-wheel drive vehicle. And this is what it's like to be behind the wheel now for the 840. Very identical to the 850, of course. And even though this is a 2024, we still have the older screen. We don't have the large curved screen. Not sure if that is something that will trickle into the 8 Series. I would assume at some point we will see that update. But if you like this system, this is what I have in my X5. I like it. I think it's still very easy to use, and it provides you with a good bit of information. And it's just a nice kind of grand touring style vehicle. So if you want something that's going to be luxurious and still have some power, it's a good option to go with. And that is going to wrap it up for this 2024 BMW 840i xDrive Coupe. Once again, huge shout out to Hendrick BMW Northlake for providing this for me today. Check out their website. That link is down in the description. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. With a quick U-turn and that rear wheel steering, one last acceleration, I will see you all in the next video.